It's time for a new evolution in raising golfers, one that doesn't involve headaches, tears, or heading down the path of unknown. Whether you're trying to introduce children to the game of golf, help them play competitively, or play at a collegiate level, you're in the right place. This show is for any parent, player, or coach who wants to build a better team at home and on the golf course. This is the Raising Golfers Podcast. Hey everyone, I hope you're having a fantastic week. I've been really enjoying the resources out there for young children and golf. I read at least one golf book a day to my oldest son before going to bed, or just for fun during the day. And this week's guest is Euan McIntyre, the author of Gregor the Golf Ball.
There's lots more to a game of golf than just the game and getting your ball from one area into onto the green and into the hole. It's everything that happens in between. And I suppose it's identical basically to a child's journey in life, that they don't actually know what's round the corner. Everything's a learning point for them. From every experience, you increase your knowledge and you increase your learning. And golf has so many great ways of learning and curiosity.
Euan had an idea to write a golf book to help engage early learners in the game of golf while working at a golf facility. He has wrote a fun, child-friendly golf book that helps kids relate their emotions they will experience in golf with the characters in the book. Today we're going to discuss what those emotions and experiences are and that early learners go through in the game of golf. Euan, welcome to the Raising Golfers podcast.
Thank you very much, Travis. Pleased to be here.
That's good. Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you as well. And I think the first thing I'd like to talk to you about is just the idea that came from the book that you wrote, Gregor the Golf Ball. And I'd like you to tell me a little bit about where it all started.
Yeah, sure. Well, I was working in golf at the time that the idea first came into my head. And I noticed that there was a lot of great initiatives going on at schools with the mission to engage children in golf. But a lot of those things were going down and giving children golf clubs to try golf. And in my opinion, the initiatives were great, but there was nothing to precede this and spark children's imagination to make them want to play golf.
Right.
That little seed of getting really excited about trying something new. So one morning I was lying in bed. It's probably about 3 o'clock in the morning. And a picture of a golf ball with a smiley face popped into my head. And I just jumped out of bed straight away and started writing a story. And it's evolved from there, really.
So essentially you were working with junior golfers, is that right?
I was working in golf. So I was actually a golf business development manager at the time. So a lot of that role was looking at the junior initiatives that we had going at the time and trying to increase junior participation.
And what were some of those issues that you felt needed to be changed or fixed beyond just this book that you wrote?
Well, I think the main thing was trying to get children's buy-in in golf, trying to get them excited, trying to get children that maybe weren't necessarily interested in golf before, trying to create that little spark of imagination and curiosity, so they were like, I'm going to give this a go. And I think by creating the story and getting the buy-in of the character of Gregor the Golf Ball, it got children curious, because a lot of the book is about emotions and emotions that children can relate to. So when they relate that back to a character, then they engage with that character a wee bit more. So I think the issues that I was looking at was that we're trying to make golf as inclusive as possible and appeal to as many children as possible when we're trying to secure the future of golf courses, etc. So we want to get as many people trying golf as possible, and creating something that gets children excited, inspires creativity, encourages learning was probably the route that I was going down. Gregor in no way tells you how to play golf. He doesn't tell you how to hold your club, etc. He just tells you about the emotions that he goes through. There might be a couple of little rules that come in as well that children can learn. And then there's learning points and activities at the back of the book to keep children engaged.
Right. No, I think we will definitely touch on some of those emotions and that journey that a child goes through in the game of golf. But I'm curious if before you even wrote this book, did you see anything else out there that would help kids kind of go through this journey and immerse them into the game a little bit more beyond just playing the game of golf that also helped you come up with this idea to write the book?
To be honest, at the time, I hadn't seen anything like this at all. But as I say, there were lots of great initiatives were going on in golf, and they were looking at new ways of creating pathways, etc., which they all work and work really well. But this was something to precede this, which a lot of the things that I noticed that had been created were for children after they had taken up golf. So again, as I say, I didn't see anything that was there to precede or inspire children to try golf in the first place. And I suppose that's where the unique, or I felt was unique, sort of selling point was. So yeah, it's just really trying to engage children that might not have a golfing background or a member of their family that's going to take them onto the golf course first.
Right. I mean, we're certainly wired for story, aren't we? And my oldest son, he's going to turn 3 in a few months here. And you can just tell at his age already, he's already so wired for story. And we've read your book already multiple times. And he's taken that story into his own creativity already. And it certainly immerses him more into the game of golf and just gets him more engaged, I think, with the game so that when the time does come and he's ready to play the game of golf, he already has something he can relate to. And that's something that he's learned from some of the stories and the emotions inside the book. So I totally agree with you. I think what the listeners would like to hear is more about what that journey is of and what those emotions that junior golfers go through. And I think there's a lot of emotions that junior golfers go through, and there's a lot of thoughts, and they're both good and some of them are difficult. And I think we should touch on some of those things. So we'll have a conversation maybe with some of the ideas and maybe some tips that we can share with the listeners of some of these different things that junior golfers go through. Okay. So let's touch on the first one. And this was one that I kind of felt was one of the first experiences on the golf course that your character goes through in the book, and that is nerves. So certainly golf is not an easy sport. Even as adults, we get nervous when we play the game. Mm-hmm. But what would be maybe some tips that you would have for junior golfers or parents to help their kids playing for the first time or playing in tournament golf?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think as you've just mentioned, relating to back to the book, in the story, Gregor's sitting in a basket full of his brothers and sisters waiting to play golf for the very first time. He's heard so many exciting stories about life on the golf course, but he hasn't experienced any of them yet. And then all of a sudden, a mum and our son come in looking to buy a golf ball. So Gregor has this feeling that today's going to be his day, and he gets picked out the basket. Now he's really, really excited about that. But all of a sudden, that realization kicks in of, what if I don't like golf, or what if I'm not a good golf ball? And he gets placed on the tee for the first time, and he has the expectation of, this is the moment I waited for all my life. I'm going to go flying off the tee. I'm going to feel the fresh air between my dimples. And Peter's mum tells him to take his time and try again. And I think that's the biggest thing. Children, adults, everyone can put a lot of expectation on themselves. So I must do this, or I've got to make sure that this ball goes flying through the air. I've got to make sure that I use the swing that I've been told to use. They can get transfixed on making sure that everything's perfect. Nothing really works first time, and it's a case of taking your time and trying again. And I suppose that's the big thing, especially with parents, is that the children are just learning and they won't probably manage to do it first time. But the most important thing is to have a laugh about it if you can, and take the pressure off. So there's no air of expectation. It will come and it'll feel good when it does. So it takes time and it takes practice, but it's to try and keep everything as positive as possible to make the child feel as relaxed as possible too.
Yeah, I totally agree. A saying that I've gone by is like, fake it till you make it. And that can just be with your smile. So you can even fake a smile, whether you're a parent or whether you're a junior golfer, even if you are really nervous or scared. But you'd be surprised by just like having that emotional reaction will actually calm your body. And I think that's in line with what you were saying there. And I totally agree. I think that's a great tip. And just breathing sometimes and just relaxing and understand that it's okay. And the story that is in the book and what the mom's reaction was perfect for what we want to do to encourage junior golfers to continue to play the game of golf. So yeah. I thought that was that was well said there. So the next thing would be, I guess, just some of the excitement that kids go through. So, they're excited about playing a game of golf, or they're excited about other things about the game of golf. What would be some good ways to get kids more excited about the game of golf?
Well, I mean, in my opinion, as you touched on, it's all about storytelling. So maybe relating to the fun that you've had on a golf course, maybe when you were learning, or experiences that you've had on the golf course. So it isn't all about, I took this shot really well, or I did this really well. It's about what you experience when you're out there. So maybe the animals that you see, or the nature that's been involved in you see in around the golf. A wee story about the people that you've met, the positives that you've taken out from the game, the friendships that you've built as well through the love of the game with, and the people you meet and the social interactions you get as well. There's a lot more to golf, as you know, than just solely playing the game. There's so many other positive aspects, both for your physical and your mental well-being as well. So try and look at the overall picture rather than just concentrating on the game. I'd look outside the box and look at the bigger benefits.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think looking outside the box, and this also relates to your story, ironically, but letting kids choose things as well. So in the story, Peter chooses the ball, right? He picks the ball himself. And I think if you let kids choose what clothes they're going to wear to go on the golf course or go to practice, choose which club they're going to hit on the golf course, or, even from my coaching experience, just when we were practicing, what changed a lot with younger kids was just letting them choose the color of golf balls they wanted to use. So we were practicing and say, okay, you've got the yellow bunch, you've got the blue bunch, or we've got the white balls, and letting them choose which ones they want. Now they feel like they have some ownership. They feel more engaged. They're more excited. And I think it's a great way to get the kids more excited about the game of golf.
Definitely. And that's on that point, the other way that you can use the story in the book is encouraging children to design and name their own golf ball. So they're getting that wee bit ownership then. So when they're taking them out on the golf course, they're taking their own golf ball on their own journey. So they're actually creating how their golfing journey takes place. You can also encourage, chats and discussions of, so you named your golf ball Emma, the golf ball. Why? Why did you do that? And what does Emma like to do most? So you can sit there with your child or with a group of children and say, tell me why you named your golf ball, what you did. So they can say, well, I named this Emma the golf ball. I named it Emma because that's my little cousin's name, and I really like my wee cousin. She's so much fun. And what she likes to do the most is try and get out the bunker, because it's really hard to do, but it's great fun trying. And that way you can learn what they're really enjoying in golf as well. And you can turn what can be perceived as negative situations into positive ones just by relating it back to how the golf ball feels. So, for example, as you know from reading the book, when Gregor lands in the bunker for the first time, he loves it. He thinks it's brilliant. He's landed in this soft, yellow, comfy sand. Peter takes his shot and Gregor lands at the face of the bunker and rolls back down exactly where he'd started. But he loves rolling back down. He makes noises like, wee, woo, this is great. It's like going down a chute. And he ends up exactly where he'd started off, but he's really enjoyed the experience. And I got some great feedback from a parent that had read the book to his two daughters, and they were out on the golf course caddying for him for the first time, and he landed in a bunker, and straight away his youngest daughter, who was 7, ran up to him and said, don't worry, Dad, Gregor says these are really hard to get out of, but it's great fun trying. And that's gold to me. It's changing that what could be perceived as a negative situation into something that's positive, and it's the child's mind that's coming out with the story and encouragement.
I think it was a great tips, and I love that story about the feedback that you got from a reader from your book. And some other things I thought about too with excitement is getting kids to play with their parents, and the positive way they're out there having fun. And even when kids can start to teach their parents what it is that they've learned, or like you said, the feedback you got from this girl where she said, it's okay, bunkers are tough. When they're talking and engaging with their parents, I think they get more excited about the game. So I thought that was great. What about the curiosity of the game? Because I think kids are very curious about things, and There's a lot of different elements in golf, whether it's the golf courses, the type of equipment, the types of shots. What is that's so important about kids being curious, and what can they learn from being curious in the game of golf?
Well, I mean, as with curiosity, with everything, it sparks imagination that makes children want to learn more. And I think there's lots of areas where golf is a learning point. So again, I'm always going to relate it back to the book. But as you know, in the book, Gregor has a very close shave, shall we call it, with a crow, and he thinks his golfing journey's over before it's possibly begun. There's lots, as I say, more to a game of golf than just the game and getting your ball from one area into the onto the green and into the hole. It's everything that happens in between. And I suppose it really is identical basically to a child's journey in life, that they don't actually know what's round the corner. Everything's a learning point for them. From every experience, you increase your knowledge and you increase your learning. So yeah, I think the way that children can really buy in and relate to the book and relate to Gregor is because his whole journey can be quite comparable to a child's journey in life. And golf has so many great ways of learning and curiosity, like simple things like you go to the first hole, you find out what the name of the hole is. Why is it called that? You know, it's got a learning point behind it. You're also learning about the different lengths of the grass, or the different reasons why golf courses change on different seasons. Why do they have temporary greens? Why does this rule exist? There's lots of things, and there's so much you can learn about life just playing golf, particularly how to relate and speak to people, how to build up confidence, etc. So yeah, I don't think there's any game around golf for learning.
No, I totally agree, and I think you touched on a good point there. Is just asking so many questions, and I think as adults, whether we're coaches or parents of these kids, I think we need to encourage the kids to ask a lot of questions out of curiosity, and there's so much that they'll learn and take away from it. So that was well said there. What is it that we as adults get wrong about kids making mistakes?
I think it's trying to correct them straight away. I think we should possibly be more encouraging to just try it again, or do you think you could do it like this? Is there any way that you think you could improve your shot, and open up to a discussion point, rather than maybe being rigid with the rules of you must do this, you must learn in a certain way. I think that can be quite off-putting for children. So I think we have to be more open to adapt to their style of learning. Everybody has different ways of learning, whether it's visual or audio or reading. So we have to adapt the teaching style to the child's learning style.
As adults, we really feel like if we are fast to help, then we are actually developing the child quicker. But I agree with you. I don't think that's necessarily the truth. I think that sometimes we need to let the kids make the mistakes, or hold the club how they want, or hit the ball the way they want first. And then over time, they're going to develop, whether it's naturally or through practice or through play. And at some point, they will, if they continue playing the game of golf, they'll probably hold the club with a decent grip. They'll probably swing the club or move the body with, somewhat decent movements, enough to be able to hit the ball into the air. And I think it's tough as adults to watch kids make mistakes. I think we're just trained to try to help so quickly. But I do agree with you that we need to take a step back and just let the kids make these mistakes, because they'll learn from them, right?
Yeah, they're bound, if they're allowed to make their own mistakes and take on little bits of advice moving forward, every shot they will improve and they will get to the same point. Whereas if you put too much pressure on them straight away, or show them exactly how it needs to be done, and then reinforce that with their next shot if they haven't followed it exactly like you told them to, you'll end up putting them off, and they'll try a different sport, or they'll move into a different area, because they'll feel under too much pressure to get it 100% right. Whereas if you keep a really fun and relaxed environment, children will learn quicker. They'll learn at their own pace.
I totally agree. Yeah. I mean, I think it's great. In the book, there's that first swing, right, that the character Peter takes. And like you already mentioned, he swings and he misses it. And my son and I, we always laugh at that, and we think it's funny. And afterwards we say exactly what the mom says. It's okay, relax.
But when he's actually hitting golf balls himself and he swings and misses it, we also laugh as well. And, it's not that I need to step in and now show him how to actually make contact with the golf ball. He'll make contact with the golf ball in the next swing, or if not the next swing, the one after that. And that's totally fine. And every time he misses, it's a learning experience, isn't it? And he will learn from it himself. I don't need to step in to help him. And same with the book. I think the message was great. Was the mom didn't step in to try to help him hit the ball and make contact with the club face. She just gave him some very reasonable advice, right?
So take his time and try again. That was right. That's it.
Improvements, obviously, it's an important part of the development. And I think there's a lot of emotions in improvement, because we think that improvement's this linear line that continuously goes upward, but obviously it has a lot of ups and downs. But what are some of the positive things and emotional things that kids take away from continuously improving in the game of golf?
A sense of pride, of well-being, of a job well done, of self-satisfaction, really. If you go out and you have a terrible round one day or you don't really enjoy it as much, so by going out and maybe you have listened to that little bit of advice and you self-improved and your putting's better or your score's better, that's amazing, and it's an amazing feeling. And if you couple that with praise from a parent or a coach or a carer or a guardian, and they're getting the praise that they deserve for it, that makes them feel even better about the next time they're going to play, so they go in more confidently. If a child does 5 things wrong but 2 things well, praise what they did well. Take the positives out of every single situation, and then the other things that they didn't improve on, they will. So it will all eventually catch up and it'll even out. But it's really important to concentrate on the positives, and everybody likes good feedback. So yeah, I think it's a sense of pride they can feel with continued development, and the only way that they'll know that they're continually developing and improving is obviously by their scores, how they're feeling, but couple that with great feedback and they'll only improve more moving forward.
Right. No, I agree. And, one thing I took away from the book that kind of connects with my experience from coaching is being in a positive environment, a positive learning environment. And, for most kids, I would say, let's just say it's practice or even play, I think a group setting is ideal. But it also has to do with the people that's in that environment. So whether it's other kids or it's your parents, if it's a positive learning environment, which is portrayed in your book, I think that kids really thrive from that, and they'll continue to come back the next time more excited, wanting to actually learn more. So then they're going to improve more. And I think that a good piece of advice for a lot of listeners would be that they need to help their kids find that positive learning environment. And now, whether that's playing with their friends, whether that's joining a junior golf program that has one of those, or whether it's just going out as parents and creating that positive environment with some of those things that you mentioned prior, with sparking the curiosity out of the kids, having the positive attitude, encouragement. I think that's a very good thing that people overlook, and they look at just technical parts of the swing. Which golf coach is the best golf coach based on technical golf swings? What is the best golf course to play? Okay, I'm there. I'm your parent. I have golfing experience, so that's going to be the best environment for you. But I think we have to look beyond that. And I think when I read your book, I really felt that the environment that the character Peter was in was a very positive one with his mother, and that carried on throughout the story. And that's why I think he also had some improvement. Could be wrong.
Yeah. It's true. There's never any pressure on him, and I suppose it's like other aspects that you'll look at. So if your child wants to go out and play golf, how many holes do they want to play? How do they let you know that they maybe had enough and they want to go off? If you're playing 9 holes or 18 holes and the day isn't going well, do you tell them at the start that you're open to stopping at any point? They can choose how often you want to play, because if you only go to the 10th hole and you're not enjoying yourself, and you have to carry on for another 7 or 8 holes until the round's finished, that's probably going to have a negative effect on how they're feeling and take their enjoyment away from the game. So I suppose there's looking at what the barriers are before you start, or what the agreements are before you start playing your round of golf, so they can feel comfortable in telling you that I'm not really enjoying myself as much today. Do you mind if I stop, sort of thing? Or can I caddy for you for the last few holes instead of taking my shot? And just being open to being flexible and adaptable in the approach.
Yeah, I think those are some good tips that you added in there. Going back to mistakes, or even some of the things you talked about with the first experience Gregor had in the bunker, there's a lot of challenges on the golf course. We have trees, we've got water, there's bunkers, long grass. Is there a point where, or I guess the question would be, how do we know how much a kid should experience in challenges? So what I mean by that is, I've seen before, if a kid hits the ball into the bunker, I've actually been guilty of it. They can't get out of the bunker, take the ball out of the bunker. But from your experience, should they be trying these challenges first, and how much time should they be spending on those challenges?
I suppose it's really good if you can go to a driving range or a practice area first and have the ball in a bunker and give them that experience of trying to get out and how much they enjoy it or don't. But for example, on a golf course, if they're quite happy continuing to try and get out the bunker because they see it as a challenge, that's fine. But I suppose it's the minute you start to see that frustration coming in where they're no longer enjoying the experience, that's where you have to maybe step in and say, do you want to just lift your ball out and put it to the side? What suits you best? Again, because you're actively encouraging, but you're showing support at the same time, so the choice is still down to them. Unless they're playing a competition, if they're just out having fun and learning, it's got to be fun in order for them to continue and get the best out of them.
No, I think that's great. Yeah, I like that. So it's let them experience the challenge up into a point where it's hopefully just before the frustration begins, or when you start seeing those cues, the frustration starts to happen, then maybe you can help them out, right?
Yeah. See, there's a few aspects in the book where he lands in the rough, or he lands in the bunker, and they'll continue in the series of books that I hope to have. But one will be in the water, all the hazards will be brought in, and there'll be different ways of dealing with things. But I think there's enough hazards in the first story that you didn't want to overload with too many different aspects. But the first storybook is very much about having a positive attitude, and it doesn't happen at once. You're not going to be the complete player first time you go on the golf course, but it's important to remain positive and have fun, because everything that you're experiencing is exactly the same as everybody else that has ever played golf. So there's never ever been somebody that's just walked out the golf course for the very first time and hit par on every single hole, or hit their ball 300 yards. It's your first achievement is actually connecting with the ball in the first place, because that's your hand-eye coordination start to come together, and then it's how you improve from there. You'll lose your path a few times, and you might be able to get out, not be in the rough for very long, and get back on the path again. But sometimes it takes people longer than others. So it's how you change and adapt to life.
Going through those experiences and things that kids do have to learn, in addition to some of these challenges, are the rules of the game of golf. And there's so many rules. I mean, there's so many rules that most people, even professionals, have to either look it up, or in the PGA Tour, they actually have to ask for a marshal to come explain the rule to them. But obviously, it is important for kids to learn rules, not just in golf, but also in life. But what would be a good way to introduce rules of the game of golf to young children?
To me, it's all about, again, having a wee bit fun with them. So, I mean, rules can be seen as a boring aspect of anything. It's rules, but they're important, and it's important everybody learns them, but appropriately. I don't think you need to be overloaded with rules straight away of you can't do this, you can't do that. I think in my experience is it's much better to go out and learn from your mistakes, but actually learn how to play golf first and then slowly introduce rules. And it's a little bit like in the book, you might have noticed that when Peter lands in the bunker, or Gregor lands in the bunker, he found out that Peter wasn't allowed to touch the sand with his club, which made this shot even harder. And it's bringing in that little bit of fun learning. So it's in the background. You might not pick that up as a rule straight away, but it's there. And they'll probably relate back to that when they do land in a bunker. And the other way moving forward in the next book, Gregor will be dropped off next to the hole by what feels like a magic carpet. Now, this will be a divot, but he'll hear Peter's mum or dad say in the background that if he doesn't put it back, if he doesn't put the magic carpet back or the divot back, it'll die. So it's just, or it won't work anymore. And that's just a way of kids going, oh, wait a minute, I've taken a divot, I better put it back. So there's little bits of etiquette and rules that can come in that way as well. So yeah, I suppose it's just making it as fun as possible. And as we know at the moment, if you can make that into a game, that's great. We've got a wonderful board game coming up from Golf Cubs at the moment, and the next couple of months all about a fun way for kids to learn rules and etiquette, and that's the route that we should be going down. Make it a fun learning environment for everyone, and they'll pick up things a lot better.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah, I think all of those things you said there were great, and I can also share in the notes. I'll share that board game that Golf Cubs has come up with that also helps with the rules of the game, and it's just an additional way, isn't it, beyond just learning the rules on the golf course. But yeah, I think just making it fun at first and simplifying them, and I think the rules that came up in the book were very well simplified, and you can even portray those to a kid of my son's age who's almost 3 years old, and he understands some of those basic things already. So I think that was great. At the end of the story, your character Peter, he had a great experience, but he also said something to his mother where he set kind of a new target or a new goal.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about setting simple goals, especially for early learners. So maybe what would be some very general but simple goals that new players to the game of golf could set that are realistic, but at the same time attainable?
Just to clarify, so in the book, Peter has had a wonderfully positive experience, and Gregor hears him say to his mum that he wants to continue playing golf and even become as good as his older sister. So that's his target. Gregor's happy because he knows his golfing journey's going to continue. And so that might not be an easy target. His sister's going to keep improving all the time anyway. But little targets are great. So even if it's improving your score by 1 on a certain hole, or maybe on a par 3, saying, right, my next ambition is to hit this green in 1 or 2 shots, and just make little targets on a couple of the holes that you can then go home and you can reevaluate, or you can discuss with your mum or dad on exactly how you got on trying to achieve your targets, and write them down. Just write them down so that you can tick them off when you've actually achieved them, and then you can relate back or put them in a little journal of what maybe it's good to concentrate on one area at a time rather than trying to concentrate on the whole aspect of your golf game. Just zone it in. So I want to improve my putting. I want to count how many putts it's taking me for the whole round, and I want to improve that. So if it's taking me 25 putts, obviously I'm making this up, I want to reduce that down to 22 in my next round. So yeah, little achievable targets are the best way to move forward, and you know yourself that it's great to achieve target and exceed them, and that can only have a positive mindset moving forward.
You summed it up very well there, and I really like that little bit there at the end of the book, so I'm glad you're able to extend on that and share a little bit more with us, which is great. Where is Gregor the Golf Ball going? What's the future of Gregor the Golf Ball?
Gregor has many adventures to go on. At the moment, hopefully, there's another 3 books planned, all of which have a main meaning behind them. So the first book, Gregor the Golf Ball, My First Golfing Adventure, is very much about remaining positive. Golf can be a tricky game, but it's a great game, so stick at it. You'll enjoy it. The next book is Gregor Plays in the Wind and the Rain, and golf's a game for any weather. It just provides a different challenge. So again, relate that to the experience that Gregor's going through playing the game. Should get you that little bit more excited about it. And then we have Gregor Joins a Golf Club, and golf's a great game to play on your own, but it's even better to make friends and socialise and build up great relationships and feel part of something. And that book will open by Gregor meeting all his family members that he leaves behind in the basket on the putting green at the golf course. So he'll bump into lots of people that he knows. And then Gregor plays in his first flag competition. And again, that's all about, he's not going to win it. It's about taking part and having fun and having a laugh. So there'll be other characters that are introduced throughout the series. I would love it if one day you could turn the books into cartoons, a little bit like the Mr. Men series, I suppose. And Gregor was a junior engagement tool and was recognised as a junior brand. But I think we're slightly not near that yet. But yeah, that's the plans for the books anyway.
When do you plan to release the next book?
That all depends on how well the first book goes. At the moment, I would hope it wouldn't be too far away. So maybe the next 7 to 8 months. I mean, this This book was only released 6 weeks ago, so it would be great to have all 4 available at once, but that'll be a wee bit further away at the moment.
Right. And I noticed on the book you use a different name for the author of the book. Could you just clarify that so that the listeners, when they are searching for this book and purchase, they understand who the author is in the book, and obviously that your name is different?
Sure. Well, the author name that I use is James Cobbin, and that's kind of a wee tribute. My middle name is James, and my mum's maiden name is James, and my granddad's name was James Cobbin. So I never met my granddad, so it was a wee tribute to him.
That's great. And where can people find your book if they'd like to purchase it?
If they'd like to purchase it, it's quite simply, it can be found on Amazon by searching for Gregor the Golf Ball, My First Golfing Adventure by James Cobbin, or the easiest way to do it is through PayPal, and that's at paypal.me/Gregor the Golf Ball, and that's available for £7.99, including delivery anywhere in the UK, or $9.99 out with the UK.
And would that even include as far as the United States?
Yep. And just to say that you can follow Gregor on Instagram or on Facebook as well, just at Gregor the Golf Ball on Facebook.
Great. That's perfect. Yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed the book, and more importantly, my son loves the book, and he loves the story that Gregor the Golf Ball goes through and the characters in the book. And I really like just the lessons that can be learned just within such a short story. And I certainly encourage anyone that's listening to start to add in a little bit of story into your learning process for your golfers. And like I mentioned before, we're all wired for story. And I think having books like Gregor the Golf Ball is a great addition to immersing your children into the game of golf. So I think you did a fantastic job putting this book together, Euan. If you could, before I let you go, could you share any final words of inspiration for raising golfers?
Let children be children. Let them learn at their pace. Encourage, inspire, ask questions, ask learning, ask how they're feeling. Really to engage your child at their own pace, and don't put too much pressure on them, and let them enjoy golf for the wonderful game that it is.
No, I couldn't agree more. I think it was well said there. I appreciate you putting together such a wonderful book for junior golfers and for families. And I look forward to the next releases that you're going to put out. And I know that my son will as well. And I think the listeners and the followers of your Gregor the Golf Ball will certainly appreciate it as well. So Euan, I appreciate you coming today, sharing some of your experience and your knowledge. And yeah, thanks for coming on the podcast.
No problem. Thank you.
That was a fun, informative conversation with Euan McIntyre, author of Gregor the Golf Ball. First off, my family, we really enjoy reading this book, so if you haven't already, go get the book, and I'm sure you and your family will truly enjoy reading this together. Golf is such a complex game, and the emotions children go through during their journey of golf is sometimes hard for us adults to relate to. It's so important for us adults to understand these emotions and experiences children go through. Like Euan said, we have to be able to encourage and yet support our children along the journey. In today's conversation, we covered so many things, but I'd like to give you a few additional ideas on just 2 of the topics we talked about. So the first one's curiosity. I would say the first thing is you need to reward it when it happens. So if a kid starts asking questions, hey mom, hey dad, why do we start from the tee box to hit the golf ball? Or why does it say here that the distance is 250 yards? Or what is a par 4? We have to encourage those things in the kids to ask more questions, and the more questions they ask, then the better they'll understand the game of golf and the more that they'll enjoy it. The other thing was with making mistakes. I think we have to, as adults, encourage an environment where they will make mistakes and explain to the kids that making mistakes is a good thing. It's easy for us adults to just jump in and help the kid when they miss the ball, chunk it, top it, etc. But let them make those mistakes, let them explore and be creative and trying to figure out the solution themselves. And I think for the long haul, it'll be best for you and your family. I really enjoyed that conversation and hope you did as well. So go out there, have fun with the journey you have ahead in the game of golf. If you enjoy listening to our podcast and the information you got from this episode, do us a favor and continue to support us by hitting that subscribe button and giving us a 5-star review. Your continued support will help us continue to grow and be able to interview some of the most experienced parents, coaches, and players in the golf industry to help you continue to raise your golfer to their full potential.